Hi, everybody. Hi, nice to see you again. Um, some of you have been here yesterday at the previous. Oh, yeah, hi. Hi, Kevin. My name is Bart. I'm representing Freyer. We are a technology and solutions provider for the cosmetics industry. To be honest, for all of the life sciences industries, but cosmetics. And today is a slightly different topic than yesterday. Um, We've been talking about regulatory intelligence yesterday. If for those of you who haven't seen it, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at how we can tackle the growing burden of documentation in companies. So this is where we're heading right now. Um, some info about Freyer, just for those of you who don't know us. Freyer is a life sciences company that has grown over the last 10 years. Yeah, precisely. We had our anniversary about 2 months ago. So we cover all the industries in the life sciences. We are very heavily pharma leaning. And since a few years, we started moving towards the cosmetics industry. So there's more and more people from that industry joining the company as different subject matter experts. So we have this kind of a long-term goal that we want to be present in the world of cosmetics as much as possible. Apart from the software, which is what I deal with mostly, we do cover other cosmetic competencies, but this is really not the topic of today's talk. I just kind of wanted to hint you, if you want to come down and talk to us at booth 21 afterwards, we really do have quite a lot of things we can chat about, and pretty much anything spanning the regulatory landscape is what we do. So really, before we get into the kind of a nitty gritty of the topic for today, that is managing the documents. I have a few thoughts which I wanted to share as the guy who's working with a technology company, and we produce quite a lot of software. We don't just do those two pieces that we have for the cosmetics industry. We have quite a lot of products out there, and we are constantly faced with requests to tackle different challenges in different industries. So this seems to be a really growing case for us. What is this goal behind technology? That is something that I'm trying to look at here, especially when we're talking about the documents and the regulatory landscape. Who's really benefiting from the technology? Because I speak to a lot of people, and I see a lot of presentations coming from other guys out there, and there seems to be this idea of the progress, how we are all progressing. But the progress, to me, I mean, it's such an impersonal thing. It's some strange overriding concept that doesn't really have a face or any meaning. Um, do we do this for progress? Yeah, but why really do we do this? Do we do this for the organizations? Well, yes, certainly. So all the companies that we work for, they put bread on our table. Um, they what we do every day. We want to make those companies benefit from the software we produce for them, right? There are certain challenges that we are tackling for them. But really, to me, when I work with our software team, when we are analyzing cases from the companies, is the number one is the people. To me personally, the software that we produce is supposed to make life better for people, not replace them or make their daily life more complicated for no reason. So if I had to ask a question today that I'm trying to answer, is what is the human cost of bureaucracy? This is something that I think is overlooked a lot, and we're not paying too much and we're not paying enough attention to what is the actual human cost of this constantly growing regulatory environment. The fact that there is a regulation for pretty much anything these days, and it's not a concept that is just innocent. No, it affects everyone's lives, and somebody has to handle it. If we look at a cosmetics company, if you have a product and you have it in 5 different markets, that product has, let's say, 20 chemicals in the line of ingredients. That is probably nearly 100 to 120 individual PDFs you have to have for just that single product for those markets. Those PDFs have expiry dates on them. They come from different sources, from different raw material providers that you are using. They come from testing labs, from packaging providers, all of that. And this is just for a single product. And I'm talking maybe for 5 markets. If some of you guys are working at the kind of companies that enjoyed growth globally, and I've seen those cases, we have provided service to such companies, then that number of documents per SKUs, and take into account they have hundreds of SKUs. This is becoming a monster. At some point, this is becoming a monster, and there's those people who have to tame the monster there. I've seen them. I spoke to them. The experience is probably not what you would think, because you may imagine somebody with really focused on those documents, like this is their life. They good at it. I've been faced with frustration, the will to give up, low morale around those departments in the companies around the world. And if we just think about it, if we look at one of those people, who are they? They're university graduates. They've spent 3 or 4 years studying something. They have a lot of skills. They have a lot of talents. What is it? What is the daily grind for those guys? They're sitting in front of a laptop and they're looking at hundreds and hundreds of PDFs. Like, can you imagine a conversation? Somebody is younger, they just finished their A-levels, and they're talking like, hey, mom, dad, I know what I want to do in my life. I just want to plow through thousands of PDFs, Oh, what you going to do? How are you going to get there? I'm going to study chemistry for 3 years at a uni. Seriously, have you ever seen a conversation like that? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, but this is the reality of what happens to people when they enter that world later on. So what is the potential? The kind of question to ask is to the people doing this, what could you do with the time you are given if you weren't sucked into that black hole of the bureaucracy and regulatory burden? And to the people who are brand owners, or maybe they are department heads in this room right now, what could they do with the time you are paying for, because they are your employees, if they were not sucked into that black hole? So this is the kind of view I hold as somebody who has experienced a fair bit of regulatory affairs in a few different industries, and now is working with a team to design softwares that are supposed to help those people. What kind of human potential we can unlock by taking away the mundane, because you will still be there, you will still be doing the job, but you will not spend, let's say, 80% of your day doing things that can be automated by a computer. You can extend that time where you are actually making a personal contribution and doing things you've been trained for or you dreamed to do when you joined that specific company, by not being blocked by that set of repetitive tasks. So what kind of industry scenarios happen to that inspired all of this? Because where this presentation is leading is for me to show you what kind of a tool we built to handle the documents. So I can tell you a few stories, just some experiences. We did a project. It started just before the pandemic, literally January 2020. A very large company from the UK, a sort of a global brand holder. So they have products that are absolutely everywhere in every single country. They asked us to come in. It all sounded kind of innocent at first. They would like us to review their documents on the chemicals, on the suppliers, on the raw materials that they have. So we flew in from different directions. We had people from the States, from India, me from Poland, came over there, had a meeting with their team and just get a very long briefing on how they organize things. That was basically a sea of Excel sheets in front of us up until the horizon, and 6 or I think 8 professionals that we've seen along the way from during the meeting from morning till the end of the day, who were basically ready to give up. That was the atmosphere. Of course, they didn't say that. They were trying to show us a strong appearance, but they basically said that they've reached a point where they can't manage the documentation of that company anymore, and they need somebody with a fresh look to come from the outside and basically try to fix this, try to bring the order to the chaos that ensued. Considering they are a global brand, they're not in 5 markets, they more in more than 50 markets. Every single SKU they have is manufactured by multiple sites around the world. That's impossible to make it all in one place and then just keep on shipping it everywhere. Every site is sourcing raw materials locally from different places. And then there are cross-cultural issues. Their headquarters are in the UK. A lot of their manufacturers are completely independent and operating in every corner of the world. And there are trust issues building up between that kind of a international relationship, and they are too big to afford a scandal of any kind. They cannot have a situation where somebody will write in a newspaper that, oh, actually such and such has been launching products that not gone through the full regulatory process, or they are using raw materials of subpar quality, and that's where it was heading in a way. So that was the experience of what they were dealing with. If I said that a single SKU can have 120 PDFs per that, in their case that was thousands. I'm not exaggerating. For a single SKU, we might be talking about 1,000 or 2,000 actual documents, because of their specific case, because of the scale of the manufacturing, because of the scale of raw material sourcing. So this is the kind of a challenge. This is the industry challenge that is real. If you're from a small brand, yeah, that probably sounds a bit excessive to you, but I'm sure if you're a small brand, then you have other tasks, you are juggling tasks, you are not a full-time regulatory document manager, you're probably doing plenty of other things, because that's the nature of the smaller end of the scale, that you normally move between different skills and different responsibilities. Another case, and that is another among the larger companies. And this is related to the pandemic and what's happened during the COVID. The initial hit that happened, that initial wave of lockdowns, at some point it stopped shipments and transport across continents and across countries. That was at least the immediate effect. Later on, people started finding ways to to handle those challenges that happened. But initially, everything stopped for a moment. What's happened to them then is that they were sourcing. They're based mostly around Europe, strong US presence, mostly around Europe. And for a variety of reasons, they were sourcing majority of their raw materials from China. So that just stopped, just like that, in about a week or 2 weeks. And they had to quickly source, to carry on producing things, they had to quickly source raw materials from the manufacturers around Europe, which we have plenty of. We absolutely have plenty. I mean, just look at Germany and the number of chemical companies there. But their choice was China, and to plow through that regulatory change, through the number of GMP checks that you have to perform on your new manufacturers, through the audits that you have to do. If you think about that portfolio of products and the documents behind the scenes, they had to go through everything and keep on checking, because again, they can't just drop the standards like that to handle the case that they were given. They can't just say, okay, we're now just going to buy things from everywhere just like that. Let's just keep on buying. That's just not what can be done. And this is an example of a client where we came in back then as a service provider, because they did not, for the urgency of the matter, they did not have enough staff on their hands. So we were helping with auditing, with managing, with actually organizing all that data and very quickly relaunching their products. The products, from the consumer perspective, the products stay on the market all the time. From the behind the scene perspective, one life cycle of a product has changed, and a completely new product based on a completely different raw materials had to be reassessed, put through the CPSR process. Some lab tests had to be done, and that basically, that continuity of business was achieved. But it was quite a case in terms of how much work it took, and how many more people had to join in on top of their company staff. So this is the kind of stories that happen, and this is what's leading us to provide a solution for that. So what the industry today does, that's pretty much what I was just saying. Large brands, multiple manufacturing sites, sourcing raw materials from a lot of places out there, adding new suppliers, changing company standards. And I think my mentality is that I keep on talking about a lot of the kind of regulatory and legal stuff, but One thing that's growing right now very strongly, we had this really interesting presentation yesterday from Provenance, I think Provenance, where they're talking about tracing the sort of softer side of the raw material standards. So what claims can you make? What's the level of organic content? Not the regulatory stuff, but the side that your clients care about, that the people actually buying your products, they care about. So this is another thing. It's not just about keeping your certificates of analysis or MSDSs in check. You also have to have your organic certifications in check or anything along those lines. So there's a whole other phase of this. So what we kind of proposed is to create a document management system that is designed from scratch to handle this portfolio of regulatory documents. We call it RM Ready, standing for Raw Materials Ready. And if we have a look at some of the main features of the tool and some of the main goals we want to have over there, basically you would have a situation where you can replicate your product portfolio inside the system. You can list all the different SKUs, mark it down for the kind of regions and countries where you sell them, and then upload all the documents that you have for those finalized products. It could be microbiology checks, it could be challenge test, it could be dermatology testing. Apply the documents for all the raw materials. Like I said, both the regulatory and the more commercial marketing side documents, and keep it over there. And as you're doing this, you are categorizing them. You're applying data points such as expiry dates to the documents, because that's a big thing. That's something that a few brands have experienced. There is some kind of an audit from a government authority in a specific country. They come in, they ask, could you show us your documents? And they do, yeah, of course we can show you the documents. We got them all. You open the file and every other document is expired. And it's not really an issue. That doesn't mean that something's wrong with your products. That just means that whoever supplied them to you, they should probably just send you the new documents, because most MSDSs, they expire after 2 years. That's just the typical rate. The MSDSs are governed mostly by shipping and transport laws, not by things that are important to us here in the cosmetics world, but those are transport documents primarily. So the number of changes there internationally that happens is constantly causing a change in the format or some details. So this is one of the main features and main things, that the system keeps the expiry date of every single document you upload for it. And every time the expiry date is approaching, let's say 1 month before the end, there's a pop-up saying that such and such document is expiring. This is the list of SKUs that is affected. So you can kind of see how it works, how your daily life would change. You no longer have to spend that huge amount of time on maintaining your portfolio, because the system is doing that for you. If you are changing a supplier of a raw material, let's scroll forward. Let's just get some screenshots, because that is the user interface. So it's a kind of a pretty neat and pretty simple interface, where you have sections for raw materials, for formulations, and for supplier data. So that's just some general details on a raw material. If you're changing a supplier for whatever reason, again, you can come into the master data part of the system and basically inform it that this supplier is going out, this one is going in. The system tells you how many SKUs are affected. And that's an interesting case. That's something that we wished we had when we had that situation with COVID, when the company had to swap from China to European manufacturers of raw materials, because then you don't have to trace those documents, those raw materials. You don't have to contact the manufacturing sites or the specific regulatory people responsible for them. The system is just pointing out exactly which SKUs are affected. So you can tackle that straight away. If you know for a fact, if you're changing a preservative and you know for a fact you have to perform a new challenge test, you straight away know exactly which of the formulations you have to do the challenge test on. So this is the kind of a dynamic that is being created. Each raw material can have subcomponents, of course. This is the document repository for each of those, and then there is the checklist. Oh, sorry, just a moment. There's the checklist. So there is a number of properties that you can apply. It's not just, like I said, it's not just regulatory. It could be whether the product is vegan, whether it's halal certified, does it contain any additional allergens, gluten, REACH regulation status. So in a situation where you have an audit, or you are in a position where you are responsible for that product entering a market and staying safely on the market, you can have this checklist for internal presentations where you're basically launching a card for a specific product, specific SKU, and you can go through all the applied properties that are important to your company, because they will vary. This is not a standard list. When you create a product, you select, you fire up every property that is specific to your case, and then you check against it. You can perform those internal checks. I would say for some of the regulatory departments in some companies, and I'm sure some of you have experienced this, there is a large disproportion between the level of responsibility that you have, the, the scale of how complicated the tasks are that you're performing, and the level of recognition. If everything stays the same, nobody really talks about it. But if something goes wrong, people would come to you and say, like, we are just losing whatever amount of money per month right now, because this product cannot be on the market, and you didn't keep track of it. So you can see how the balance is kind of shifting against the regulatory department, because don't think they will come every week to knock on your door and say, thank you for doing your amazing job that the whole company is operating. So, so this is, this can happen. And that part with the checklist and being able to internally show that your product is maintaining every standard that your company has agreed to maintain, that is a nice thing to have. Okay. This is just a list of raw materials for a specific. This is a made up. There's no lanolin limited and anhydrous lanolin. So this is just a list of all the raw material checks that we performed for a single raw material. Some ingredient compliance. So okay, I don't think I'll be going through every single bit of that system. If you'd like to, this is the part where you can choose to make a next step. We are at booth 21. You can scan this QR code right now, and you can forget about it for the moment. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Somebody will just contact you if you fill out a short form. Other than that, I'm here. I'm happy to talk, and we can set up a meeting. The process is pretty painless. For RM Ready, we don't consider it to be a system, an operational system. We have a few of those. We consider it to be a tool. You'd be surprised how cheap you can start using it. If you just want to purchase one user and start managing your company through it, I can tell you it will be less than $1,000 per year. So this is a completely open and accessible tool. And we can basically arrange a meeting after this conference, catch up on Teams. Like I said, pretty painless process. I'll show you what it does, how it looks. I'll listen to your case, how your company operates, what exact challenges you have to face, and you can make a quick decision, go forward or not. To me, having in mind what I said initially about the people cost, the human cost of this, and the organization cost, it's a case of a very simple problem and very simple solution. The tricky part is, can you make a decision not to solve that problem? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you. Thank you very much.